Auckland Airport says it will be ready to operate facilities for a quarantine-free Pacific bubble by August 17 if given the green light. It comes as the government is being challenged to present a proactive border opening strategy to free up trade and travel with our Pacific neighbours. The Pacific Business Council with the Foreign and Trade officers hosted a webinar earlier today to generate recommendations that will help accelerate the launch of a Pacific bubble. And as Dominic Godfrey reports, Auckland Airport is ready to go.
The Pacific Business Council Chair, Peter McGill, made his intentions clear from the outset.
From this morning's discussions, we will use our findings to lobby the New Zealand Government, including Winston Peters, who we currently have an open dialogue with regarding to accelerating the opening of Pacific borders.
Realm countries Cook Islands, Niue and Tokelau remain COVID-19 free, as do the Samoas, Solomon Islands, Tonga and Vanuatu, while others, including Fiji, have halted community transmission. Investment Fiji's chief, Craig Strong, made it clear how important it was for his country of 800,000, where tourism accounts for 40% of GDP, and most of which has effectively disappeared.
Currently, we have around 110,000 Fijians who have lost their jobs or on reduced working hours. So we are projecting remittances to fall by some 15%. And at the end, we are projecting the largest single economic contraction in Fijian history to be around 21.7%.
He says a travel bubble is critical for Fiji's short-term recovery and detailed how tourism infrastructure could operate within a safe and secure quarantined bubble. Auckland Airport's Network Development Manager Mick Cottrell says a safe travel zone is doable and they can maintain total separation of passengers from COVID-free Pacific countries and those arriving into quarantine.
We've actually petitioned off our whole PRA with 10 gates, which will be exclusively for quarantine-free travel.
Mr Cottrell says Auckland Airport has advised government that they will be ready by 17 August for unlimited travel with quarantine-free countries.
In 14 days' time, if we got a flight from Rarotonga, it would have a whole pier of the airport to itself, and it will have 10 aerobridges to pull up at.
The Cook Islands Chamber of Commerce President Fletcher Melvin notes that tourism accounted for 85% of GDP and businesses had seen a 90% drop in trade since March. He says government wage subsidies end in September, so a safe travel corridor with New Zealand is essential, particularly now they've mitigated risk to their own community.
We've been preparing for the last 3 months to ensure that when we do open up, our health system is robust. And we are very fortunate that our head of health is an epidemiologist, and he has been leading from the front and ensuring that we are ready on our end when it comes to health protocols.
Mr Melvin cites a rocky outlook for his country with a predicted 3-year recovery period and says what gives them hope is the opening of a safe travel corridor with New Zealand. He says there's no reason this can't happen before the election. Attendees agreed it's time to safely open borders with realm countries Niue and Cook Islands, followed by other COVID-free parts of the Pacific. Australia will not be considered whilst there's still community transmission. The Pacific Business Council will present its recommendations to government. Mo te huataka o te ahiahi, ko Dominic Godfrey tēnei.